And she's not in the room, so I get away with saying it. But I mean it. So you see on the screen here, there's a nice verse from amongst this 18,000 nice verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. And this is from Canto 10, Chapter 1, verse number 4, where the verse is speaking of the importance of hearing and the consequence of hearing and how hearing is to be taken in so that the disease of material existence can be finished and the awakening of our devotional life can take place, just like Ananda Vrindavan remarked. I've come to teach you that which you have forgotten. Well, she said it a little differently. I've come to teach you what you have forgotten. Okay. We're all eternal. Well, we know from Bhagavad Gita, we're eternal parts of Krishna. And where is Krishna? He's in Vrindavan. So we belong in Vrindavan, but somehow we ended up over here. And a phrase that Prabhupada would use many times is somehow or other. Somehow or other. And here we are. And continuing and continuing and continuing and trying for happiness. And somehow something else happens. Yehi samsparshaja bhoga. Samsparshaja bhoga. When senses contact sense objects, samsparsha ja, something arises. Not happiness, but the anticipation is bhoga, that we want to enjoy. Something else comes, like a jack-in-the-box. Many of you are from India. Do you know what a jack-in-the-box is? Half of your life is wasted. Jack-in-the-box. We were little kids. Once upon a time, we were all little kids. And in my home, we had a jack-in-the-box. It was a box, a little metal tin thing, and it had a cover. And you press a button, and the cover flipped up, went on a spring, and up would come out whoops, the jack-in-the-box would come out of the box. And then what we would do, we put the jack back in the box, put the lid back on, smile, and press the button again. And we never tire. That's the yehi samsparsha bhoga. The other rest is dukkha. Yonaya evate. Dukkha takes its birth, yon, in the womb of that anticipation of happiness by senses contacting sense objects. And we keep doing it again and again and again, like a jack-in-the-box. And not just this lifetime. I mean, at different stages of this lifetime, there's a different jack that comes out of the box. But it's the same program. And then we do it again. And we do it again. We do it again. So the Bhagavatam, and what we've been doing this weekend, is an attempt to stop that program and do the reality program. The reality program is described in this verse. Some of you like to recite Sanskrit verses, and you can chant responsibly. And then those of you that don't, you can just listen because it's purifying if you don't like Sanskrit verses. Nirrita Tirshire Upagiya Manad Babo Sadat Shrota Manobiramat Ka Uttama Shloka Gunanuvadat Puman Virajeta Vina Prashugnat. So a key word is in the second line, shrotra, or the process of hearing. This is what we've been doing. And this process of hearing is a very interesting process. It's a medicine It's a medicine to cure the material disease, bhava. And it's an interesting medicine. It's a medicine that's taken through the ear. Medicine that's taken through the ear. And it has a very nice effect. Mano abhiramat. The mind becomes tranquil, and more than tranquil. One becomes very joyful. And that very process does a second thing at the same time. Nivritta Tireshire. Now, he's the Sanskrit scholar and I'm the rookie, but there's a thirst for yehi samsparsha joboga, a thirst for sense enjoyment. And this is a process of nivritti, of dialing down that tendency by dialing up the tendency of hearing and taking this medicine through the ear. Bhavosadat shrotra mano biramat. And what's that message? Ka uttama shloka gunanavadat. And there are some persons that they don't want to hear this. And they're not being very nicely complimented by this verse. They're killers of the soul, or killers of animals. Here's the translation. Glorification. This is the Uttama Shloka. Glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is performed in the Parampara system. No, Prabhupada inserted that. It's not in the verse, but it's true. That is, it is conveyed from spiritual master to disciple. Such glorification is relished by those who are no longer interested in the false temporary glorification of this cosmic manifestation. Nivritta Tireshire. Upagiyamanad. Descriptions of the Lord are the right medicine for the conditioned soul undergoing repeated birth and death. Therefore, who will cease hearing such glorification of the Lord except a butcher or one who is killing his own self, prashugna? Now, butcher's not a nice profession, but then there are persons who aren't butchers, but they're killing themselves, so to speak, or because the soul can't be killed. We know that from Bhagavad Gita. And so what's the killer of the soul? It's this, especially achieving this human form of life and neglecting that which can free us, this nivritta tireshire upagiyamanat, free us from this repetition of the Jack-in-the-Box program. And do it again, and do it again, and do it again, and do it again. Dukkha yonaya evate, and do it again, and do it again. So the repetition of material, expectation of material happiness is diminished by this very process, and the awakening of our transcendental relationship with Krishna, or that which we have forgotten. And with Krishna, when one says Krishna, repeating our founder Acharya, it means his abode, his associates, his paraphernalia, his pastimes, his loving exchanges, the whole thing. Or in the language of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Purusham Purnam, Pashat Purusham Purnam. Vyasadeva, under Narada's instructions, he sat in trance and had a realization or a vision within his heart. And what his vision was, he saw everything. Now, what's that like? How can you see everything? Especially in that little space, the heart. But our acharyas described matter and spirit in the control of both, everything of the spiritual, everything of the material realm, everything, and the source of everything. And the energies of that source of everything. Circuit overload. How do you handle that one? So you do what Vyasadeva did. You then write Srimad Bhagavatam, which has 18,000 verses, but on higher planets, there are larger versions of Srimad Bhagavatam, and our wonderful acharyas have expanded and expanded and expanded by empowerment to take the teachings from Srimad Bhagavatam and other portions of the Puranic literature and expand on them based upon their pure consciousness and the realizations that Krishna gives. There's a verse in Sri Brahma Samhita, or that there's many verses, but one verse of late I've been fascinated by, where it's said by Lord Brahma, because Brahma Samhita is prayers of Lord Brahma to Govinda and all of his other realizations. Yadrashi Shraddha Siddhi Bhavati Tadrashi. Again, I'm a rookie. I just know ABC things, Sanskrit. It's as this, so that. Yadrashi Tadrashi. And the Yadrashi part is Shraddha. And according to Shraddha, Siddhi Bhavati Tadrashi. The translation that Bhaktisiddhanta has given is Siddhi Bhavati. He translates as realization arises. Realization arises according to or corresponding to Shraddha. So supposing one becomes, is it possible to become a completely, absolutely 100% squeaky clean, faithful person, faithful to Krishna and the messages about Krishna and the descending messages of Krishna, like Lord Brahma received. So he's expressing his realizations, Yadrashi Shraddha, and our acharyas, Siddhi, their realizations, Siddhi Bhavati Tadrashi. So they're giving us realizations of Krishna, that which we have forgotten, and everything in relation to Krishna, which we have more or less forgotten. Now, many persons in this room are not born in America. Some of you have children that are born in America, but you're born elsewhere. And you have great fortune, because from childhood you've heard what we've not heard. They were born in some other places. But the good news is, it doesn't matter where the body is born, the principle works. So if you've heard from childhood, someone was sharing after yesterday evening's class, from childhood they've heard Ramayana, Mahabharata, messages from the Vedas, and then hearing these realizations of our acharyas, it's new. And I said to them, imagine what it's like for those of us that weren't brought up in India. Whether it's new or not new, or partially new and partially not new, it acts on the soul. Everyone has forgotten, regardless of where you're from, and etc., your upbringing. There's great fortune, the pious upbringing of persons brought up that way, that I just described. And there's misfortune, the pashugna, misfortune, for those that haven't. But anyone can revive the original Krishna consciousness by this hearing process. So that's the theme that I wanted to speak on. And Ananda Vrindavan wanted to know what's going to be the topic. I said, that's a topic. But the topic that we've been speaking about over the weekend, some of it's been very high. And realizations of our acharyas about activities of Krishna and his loving exchanges with Krishna, and the varieties of life in Vraja Lila, and Amarendra's wonderful topics. If you weren't here, tune into the YouTube channel and hear. The river Jamuna, Govardhan Hill, Radhakund Shamakund. And this sound vibration acts as an awakening of that which we have forgotten. in the language of Rupa Goswami, it's called Udipana, or stimulations of ecstatic love. Ecstatic love is already there. We may not be feeling it because we're asleep. But a sleeping person can be woken because one sense is still operating, and that's the ear, the hearing sense. And when one hears, then the awakening, the stimulation of ecstatic love becomes possible just through sound. So that's what we've been attempting to do. I know I've been feeling enlivened, describing the personalities in Braja Leela, because it's all in relation to Krishna. In Krishna, 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 hey! Krishna, 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 Krishna. So that's what we've been doing. Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rakshamam, Krishna Kesava, Krishna Kesava, Krishna Kesava, Payamam. It's from Mahaprabhu, that phrase, in addition to Mahamantra. That's a nice one. And it's awakening. Even if it's just the name, everything is there in the name. And then we start taking strands from that gay wick and pull out this strand and that strand, and look at that. This configuration of wonderful loving exchanges between Krishna and his devotees in Vrindavan. Now, I'm going to go a little bit quickly to the topic. One of the topics that I spoke about was Vrinda Devi. Now, in our lives, we, in ISKCON, we're trained to, in addition to performing arti and saying Shringa prayers, we also worship Tulsi Devi, at least in our temples. And many of you, I'm sure, have Tulsi Devi in your home, and you offer Tulsi Devi with your offerings to your deities or your altar. And there's a nice pastime that's a Braja Leela pastime that's very different than the Tulsi Vivaha pastime that many people know. And I won't repeat the Tulsi Vivaha pastime that many people know because I don't like it. But here's the one I like. So, Vrinda Devi, we heard, does so much service. She's 24/7. She's full-time absorbed in all kinds of services for the divine couple. And many, many things you won't repeat. Many, many things. And she is Krishna's messenger, but she also is engaging in Krishna and Radha's loving dealings unlimitedly. So one time, Radharani was contemplating the feelings that she had towards Vrinda Devi's wonderful arrangements for loving pastimes with Krishna. So she decided, let's have some fun. You know, young girl with his girlfriends, having some fun, deciding, let's have a mock marriage between Vrinda, but they didn't tell Vrinda exactly what was the plan. They wanted to honor Vrinda. So they arranged a nice throne, just big enough for two people, and they sat Vrinda Devi down right next to Krishna. And as soon as they sat Vrinda Devi down right next to Krishna, immediately Vishaka sat and, in a playful mood, took the role of a priest, and Lalita began reciting all the mantras, and Radha personally brought the flower garlands and exchanged flower garlands between Radha and Krishna, and it was a wonderful mock wedding ceremony. Vrinda should marry Krishna. And it was very nice until they started to tie the knot between Krishna's dhoti and Vrinda Devi's sari, and she said, wait a minute, there's a wedding. And she stood up and tried to run, but she couldn't run because her sari was tied to Krishna's dhoti, and she started to cry, and the other girls were laughing and clapping. And they're married, or at least mock marriage. So this is the Tulsi Vivaha Leela in Vrindavan that I like very much. Now, one of the things that we heard about Vrinda Devi is pictured here. This is a slide that was shown earlier. Without the mercy of Vrinda Devi, it's not possible to enter into the confidential pastimes of Radha and Krishna, not even as a listener in an audience. These are the words of our acharyas. So, devotees, you're the recipients of Vrinda Devi's mercy. Now, is Shrivani here? Is she here? Oh. After the class on Vrinda Devi, Shrivani sent me a little a poem, or part of a poem from Vidyapati. So could you please recite this little poem? Take your mask off and loud enough so everyone here can hear. Can you see? Okay. Here's the microphone. Look at that. You're next.
বহুত মিনতি করি তোয় এই তুলসী দিল দীর্ঘ সমর পিল দয়া জানি না ছোড়ো বিময়.
So that's one verse from a series of verses of one of his songs or poems or prayers where she's offering prayers to Madhava, a name of Krishna. O Madhava, with this offering of a tulsi leaf and sesame seeds, I beseech you, and pledge my body in your service. I know your compassion is such that you will not reject me. So when making offerings, certainly we do this when making our bhoga offerings, but in general anyways, Vrinda Devi is very dear to Krishna. Vrinda Devi is very dear to Radharani. So you offer to Krishna and Radharani your love, and you also offer your love and items that you may wish to give them, particularly cooked items, with a tulsi leaf, knowing that he'll be very pleased. He'll be very pleased. I didn't hear all of Amarendra's talks, but parts of it I heard, in one of his statements I like very much. One of the ways to honor Govardhan, one of the best ways to honor Govardhan is Govardhan Prikrama. And those of you who have been to Vrindavan, and even those who haven't been to Vrindavan, one day you will go to Vrindavan. May you all go to Vrindavan. And when you go to Vrindavan, for sure, you'll visit Govardhan Hill, but don't just ride in a taxi around Govardhan Hill because you're in a big hurry. Go to Govardhan Prikrama. It takes some time. And when you go around Govardhan Prikrama, there's a very long stretch just before the town named Aniyor. And Aniyor, I've been told, in local language means, I want more. So that in the pastime of Krishna manifesting himself as Lord Hari, accepting the offerings that he asked his father to take all the offerings for Indra, cook them, and offer them to Govardhan Hill, he, Krishna, manifested a form of Lord Hari. I mean, one of the things I like is there's three Krishnas in one place. Govardhan Hill is Krishna, Krishna is Krishna, and Sri Hari is Krishna. Take your pick, or all three of them. And so they offered everything to Hari, and he ate everything, and it was gone. And he said, Aniyor, I want more. And so the Brijbasis quickly ran to their storerooms, gathered whatever they could, made another big Anukut offering, offered it all to Sri Hari, who ate everything. And then he said, Aniyor, I want more. But they gave everything. They gave everything. They had nothing left, and he wants more. Balaram was very smart. He got a tulsi leaf, placed a tulsi leaf in the hand of Sri Hari, and that was it. Haribol. Now, this isn't a verse or this isn't a passage from Srimad Bhagavatam, but it's part of the understanding for those who are lovers of Vrindavan, and lovers of Vrindavan are lovers of Govardhan Hill. Now, when we had this discussion yesterday morning, someone asked a question about Tulsi Devi, and Amarendra suggested a verse which he's going to recite because he's the Sanskrit scholar. And this is taken from Rupa Goswami's Stavamala. Please read or recite.
Can we all have a call and response? Mridanga? Bhaktirudanchati yadyapi madhava na tvai mama tilamatre. Bhaktirudanchati yadyapi madhava na tvai mama tilamatre. Parameshwarata तदपि तवाधिक दुर्घट घटन विधात्रे. परमेश्वरता तदपि तवाधिक दुर्घट घटन विधात्रे.
So, Rupa Goswami, and for those of you that are little newer, we are all known as followers of Rupa Goswami or Rupanugas, because he is the principal amongst many perfected souls who are great followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We're especially followers of Rupa Goswami. This is one of his writings. And his writing, here's this word sesame seeds again. Although I don't possess even a sesame seed of bhakti for you, still, by your inconceivable power, which makes the impossible possible, please fulfill the desires of my heart. So as the Tulsi leaf offered by Balaram to Sri Hari made the impossible possible, what about the rest of us? Is there room for the rest of us to see something impossible become possible? So, for example, he gave a nice example. Krishna accepts our offerings. But what's our eligibility for Krishna to accept our offerings? Nothing. Do we have disqualifications? Plenty. And will Krishna still accept because we have disqualifications? Yes. And one of the things that it's good, ideal, is when you make your offerings as unqualified or disqualified or lacking in even a sesame seed of bhakti, make your offerings with a tulsi leaf, and then the impossible becomes possible. So he who has everything, doesn't need anything, who's normally taking the cooking of Mother Jasoda or Radharani, is going to accept your offering? It's impossible. But offer a tulsi leaf. So this is one of the glories of, in our practical experience, besides these wonderful descriptions of Krishna's pastimes with his devotees, where we can enter, make ourselves eligible to enter into remembering that which we have forgotten and actually entering into the spiritual world eternally in our relationship with Krishna. So that's my part, and I've taken half an hour. Exactly half an hour. Ananda Vrindavan will thank me. Now, you're going to hear Amarendra say whatever he wants to say on whatever topic in relation to remembering Krishna in Vrindavan that he'd like.
Hare Krishna. Maharaj, with your permission, I'm going to step a little aside so that I'm not too loud on your ear. So that, because sometimes in the middle of my speaking, I start yelling and screaming. So just want to make sure that Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swāmī Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I remember many years ago, I had the good fortune of having the association of His Holiness Romapada Maharaj in the state of Massachusetts. I was studying at the University of Massachusetts, and with Advaita Chandra Prabhu and Mother Krishna Priya, we had the opportunity to host a program for Maharaj on the campus of the university. And I remember during that visit, it was probably 2014 or 15, I had the opportunity to walk up to Maharaj and ask a question. And the question that I asked Maharaj, so I was 22 years old. So the question that I asked Maharaj was, how do we know whether we should be a brahmachari or a grihastha? So now I'm married and I have a wife sitting here. So this was many years ago. Just want to make sure my post-class experience is good. So I asked Maharaj this question, how do we know? How do I know if I'm going to be, if it's better for me to be a brahmachari or better for me to be a grihastha? And Maharaj said, this is viewed vikalpa. And that just went over my head. And I said, Maharaj, what does that mean? And he said, it means confusion in decision making. And then in one sentence, Maharaj answered. He said, whatever is good for your Krishna consciousness, that's what you should do. So I remember during those days, we used to come early in the morning at 7 o'clock to hear Maharaj's class. And I had very strict instructions given to me even when we would pick up Maharaj from the train station. Because I had the habit of chanting japa very loudly. So I was told, when you sit in the car with Maharaj, you don't have to make Maharaj hear your chanting. Okay? Just chant in your mind and keep quiet. Don't talk. Because he's tired, he's traveling. You just be quiet. So I was in that mood. Talking about making impossible into possible. That was the day I approached Maharaj as a servant. And still as a servant, Maharaj is now so kind to me, accepting me as a servant next to him. I feel like the pages of the Ramayana. I feel like the pages of the Ramayana, where the monkeys had no qualification to meet with Sri Ram. And they approached Sri Ram in the mood of service. But Sri Ram treated the monkeys who had nothing to offer on same level as him. So my position is actually to sit down. But in the mood of Sri Ram, Maharaj has kindly held my hand and kept me sitting next to him. I feel like one of those disqualified monkeys, but qualified, sitting next to him by his sweet will. So I want to start off by expressing gratitude. In fact, now I'm reminded of one more thing. After that class, I think it was a class on stress management, I asked Maharaj, what are your thoughts on bridge preaching? And he gave me a very beautiful example. He said, it's like giving a present to someone. Whatever you want to gift them, the content doesn't change, just the gift wrapping changes. So he said the philosophy of Krishna consciousness is the gift that we should give across. But bridge preaching means to package it in such a way that people can readily accept it. So these are things that come to my mind, and I'm sharing them in the presence of Vaishnavas, in the presence of Maharaj, in the presence of Krishna, as witness, to express gratitude for all those experiences and the experience till this very day. So with that as the introduction of gratitude, I would like to speak a few words. Maharaj touched upon three fundamental points. The first point was on the importance of hearing. The second point was the position of Vrinda Devi. And the third point was the presence of Govardhan. So these 3 points these are like 3 different flowers. We will try to string a garland together in the time that we have. Regarding the importance of hearing, we can see countless examples. Right from the Bhagavad Gita, to the Bhagavatam, to Chaitanya Charitamrita, to the lives of great acharyas. How just by this one virtue of sitting down attentively, receiving the oral reception or the sound vibration of Krishna's pastimes, coming from the lips of a very great soul, it cleanses the heart and ignites bhakti, devotion, in the heart of the listener. We can see the life of Arjuna. Arjuna starts off the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita in the spirit that Krishna, I will tell you what to do. You are the listener and I am the speaker. Senayor ubhayor madhye ratham sthapayame achyutaha. O Achyuta, you the driver, take me between the 2 armies. I will decide and you will follow. But what happened? Arjuna teaches us a result of that is confusion and bewilderment. When we walk to God and tell him, why don't you fulfill my desires? I will take a desire to God and tell him, you do what I want you to do. What happens is the Gandhiva of our skill set will slip from our hand and the mind will be bewildered. Even if you're Indra or the son of Indra, Arjuna. Then what happens? Arjuna falls on his knees as a disciple, taking Krishna as the guru, as the teacher, and receives the message of the Bhagavad Gita. What happens after that? Tables turn. Krishna still the chariot driver. But now, Arjuna, by receiving Bhagavad Gita through the process of hearing, teaches us, if you become that devotee who listens to the Bhagavad Gita and lets God, Krishna, drive the chariot of your life, then even if you're only 5 in count, you will defeat the 100. Let God drive and you surrender to his will. How did that transformation take place? By the process of hearing. When Arjuna heard, he realized. Let's come to the pages of the Bhagavatam. Vyasadeva was confused. How did he get this transcendental wisdom of compiling Srimad Bhagavatam? By hearing from the lips of his Guru Maharaj. And what's the name of his Guru Maharaj? Devarishi Narada. Vyasadeva, before listening to Narada Muni, he compiled so many literatures. He compiled the Puranas, he compiled the Vedas. But we don't count any of them as the king of scriptures, as Grantharaj. But there's just one scripture that Vyasadeva compiled after listening to his Guru. And we proclaim that scripture to be the king of all Vedic literature. Srimad Bhagavatam ki? Because it was the result of listening to the instructions coming from a great soul. Let's think about Buddha. Buddha is an incarnation of Krishna. Keshava Dhrita, Buddha Sharira Jaya Jagadisha Hari. Keshava, the killer of Keshi, Krishna, he became Buddha. But how did Buddha get enlightened? By sitting under a tree, listening to nobody. He didn't have a guru. So you have 2 incarnations of Krishna. One is Vyas and one is Buddha. We respect both of them. We worship both of them. But we take the instructions of Vyas, but we don't take the teachings of Buddha. Why? Because Buddha didn't listen. But Vyas listened to his Guru Narada. As a result, whatever he gave, the result of his hearing is what we proclaim as the king of Vedic literature, Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam. Then we see Parikshit Maharaj. Parikshit Maharaj had only 7 days to live. Imagine if you and I, we get such an opportunity that we know the countdown to death. You know, in the olden times, we used to have these prepaid cards. You can make phone calls. Like you put in the amount and then you get only like 60 minutes to talk. And as they count down to the last 5 minutes, you get an announcement. You have 5 minutes left. And then the last 1 minute, you have 1 last minute to go. Only if Brahma can give us such a message. You have 7 days to live. That's the message Parikshit got. If we have such a countdown opportunity, what would we do? We would be thinking about what to do with our money. Maybe go on a world tour. Maybe eat the best food that we like. Meet all the people whom we love. But Parikshit Maharaj, who saw Krishna in the womb, he decided to hear about Krishna. We hear about Krishna to have darshan of Krishna. And Parikshit, who has darshan of Krishna, wants to hear about Krishna. How glorious. And he doesn't take it as a curse. He took it as a blessing. Those 7 days caused history to manifest. The appearance of Srimad Bhagavatam. It's quite fascinating what Krishna does. When Parikshit Maharaj is appearing, Krishna destroys the Brahmastra. So with the appearance of Maharaj Parikshit, there is disappearance of the Brahmastra. And then that same appearance of Parikshit, there's disappearance of Parikshit and appearance of Srimad Bhagavatam. So beautiful. Krishna's plans, ever-changing plans. The land of Vrindavan is called Vrajabhumi. And Maharaj very beautifully was explaining from Srila Jiva Goswami, Sri Harinama Amrita Vyakaranam, that Vraja means to move. But the residents of Vrindavan, they're not just moving externally. They're also moving moment to moment. Because Krishna makes a plan and then he changes his plan. So their bodies are moving in parikrama and their hearts are moving to the ever-changing plans of God. Those who are ready to move like a puppet from moment to moment, they are called Brajbasis. They are Brajbasis. So Parikshit Maharaj, he appeared and then Krishna caused his disappearance for the appearance of Srimad Bhagavatam. During those 7 days, Parikshit Maharaj, he made a plan to hear about Krishna. We can see countless such examples. Dhruva Maharaj, when he wanted to find the Lord, he listened to the advice of Harikatha coming from Narad Muni. Think about Valmiki, another example. Before he gave the blessing of Valmiki Ramayana to this world, Konu asmin sampratam loke gunavan kascha viryavan dharmajnascha kritajnascha satyavakyo dridhavrataha. Who is that person, O Narada? Asked Valmiki. Who's filled with transcendental qualities. And then Narad Muni goes on describing the glories of Sri Ram. And by hearing this Ram Katha, Valmiki becomes empowered to write 24,000 Sanskrit verses in his magnum opus, Valmiki Ramayana. Kujantam Rama Rameti Madhuram Madhuraksharam Aruhya Kavita Shakham Vande Valmiki Kokilam Valmiki Muni Simhasya Kavita Vanacharinaha Shunman Rama Kathanadam Konu Yantim Paramgatim. Valmiki, by hearing from Narada Muni, becomes empowered to become a cuckoo bird sitting on the branch of poetry to sing Coo! Ram! Ram! Singing the names of Sri Ram like a cuckoo bird sitting on the branch of poetry. Valmiki Muni did what he did on the power of hearing. Another classic example is Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj heard from Narad Muni while being in the womb. He didn't want to come out. It was the most conducive place to hear because there were no phones ringing. There were no kids running. Everything was perfect. I'm telling you, Krishna's listening. And he has great sense of humor. He could have done that a minute ago. But he said, I'll just wait for you to finish that. And then, boom! Prahlad Maharaj was listening to the messages while being in the womb of his mother. And that's what made him the great Prahlad. Think about another example. Ajamil. What was the turning point in Ajamil's life? It was hearing the debate between the Yamadutas and Vishnudutas. Ajamil is on the deathbed. And he's almost watching a lawn tennis match. Going from end to end. Because his future depends on who wins. Because if the Yamadutas win, he's going down. And if the Vishnudutas win, he's going up. So he is the one who's listening to their debate very carefully. And because he heard their debate and he was convinced by what the Vishnudutas were offering, his life changed from there. So in this way, dear devotees, countless examples can be given. But the last example I would like to give is the life of Rukmini. Rukmini had never seen Krishna. But Shrutva Gunan Bhuvana Sundara Shrunvatam Ye Nirvishya Karana Vivarai Harato Ungatapam Rupam Drisham Drishimatam Akhilarthalabham Tvayachuta Vishati Chittama Patrapam Me. Srimad Bhagavatam has this beautiful sound vibration. As Maharaj was very beautifully explaining, Shrotra Manobhirama. Srila Prabhupada explains, the sound of these verses give pleasure to the ear. And the meaning of these verses give pleasure to the heart. So even if you don't know what it means, just the poetry. Like for example, Jatata vi gala jala pravaha pavi tastale gale valam valam bitam tudanga tunga malikam dhamat 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 dhanat ninadamar vayam chakara chanda tandavam karotu datrivatrivam. Composed by Ravana, by the way. I didn't want to say that it was composed by Ravana before. I just wanted to spill the beans later. So just the sound of these Sanskrit verses from the scriptures, they entertain the ear. And then when the meaning is understood, they nourish the heart. And when you actually apply in life, one gets liberated. How wonderful. We get so charged with devotion. So Rukmini Devi just heard about Krishna, whom she had never seen, on the power of the words of a Brahmana who would come and sing the sweet, wonderful, nectarian qualities of Krishna. Many times devotees say, how can I fall in love or serve that Krishna whom I've never seen? I don't see Krishna. How can I serve him? How can I develop attachment? Rukmini's example is given in the Bhagavatam for the same reason. She never saw Krishna up till that point. And she heard, just by hearing about Krishna, Krishna entered through the ear hole and went straight into the bedroom of her heart. And he was knocking the door. She welcomed Krishna through sound vibration. And then what happened? It was that sound vibration which pulled Krishna towards her. What pulled Krishna to Rukmini? It was her sincerity in listening about Krishna. In Srila Prabhupada's life we see Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Srila Prabhupada, their relationship was on the basis of hearing. Srila Prabhupada would say, when my Guru Maharaj spoke in Bengali, even the Bengalis didn't understand. And when he spoke in English, even the Britishers didn't. My Guru Maharaj was a man from Vaikuntha. That's what Srila Prabhupada would say. So when Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur would speak, many would sit. But then with time, as the clock ticks, one after another, they would leave. But Abhay Babu sat there. So when Srila Prabhupada's initiation recommendation came, Prabhupada Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur saw and he said, Abhay, oh, he's a wonderful listener. He sits and listens for hours. I will accept him. So we see Srila Prabhupada saying, I did Shravanam and now therefore I can do Kirtanam. Now I can speak, Prabhupada would say. So this was as far as the first point of hearing about Krishna. Now we see Vrinda Devi. She's the one who goes around speaking Krishna Katha so that everyone can hear about Krishna. Vrinda Devi has these fantastic parrots. Every morning at 7 o'clock, there are about 100,000 parrots of Vrinda Devi sitting at Gupta Kund and Vrinda Kund. Why? Because Vrinda Devi is the head of the Braj Planning Commission. She's the head of the director of all the Leelas in Vrindavan. So all her parrots are messengers. So what does Vrinda Devi do? Every morning she sends about 10,000 parrots this way, 10,000 parrots this way, another 10,000 parrots this way, another 10,000 parrots back way. So now we may ask, why do you have to send 10,000 parrots in the same direction? Well, they're not all sent at the same time. Vrinda Devi would send about 500 parrots. And then after about 10-15 minutes, another 500 parrots. And then after about 10-15 minutes, another 500 parrots. So what's happening? If they all fly at the same time, by the time they fly back and give her the news of what's happening, where's Radharani, where's Krishna, where's Jatila, where's Kutila, where's Chandravali, the message becomes a little old because there's a 10-minute delay. So what Vrinda Devi does is she sends parrots, and 10 minutes later, another set of parrots. And after 10 minutes, another parrot. So by the time the first come in, and then the second come in, and then the third, so it's continuous broadcast of communication from all directions of Braj Mandala. This is Vrinda Devi. She is in charge of hearing and chanting and planning about Krishna everywhere. She makes the impossible possible. She makes Radha and Krishna meet. It's impossible for Radha and Krishna to meet. Radharani is held by Jatila and Kutila at home, and she is held by Chandravali outside. So therefore, Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite. Rupa Goswami uses the word Jaya twice. Oh Radhe, may you be victorious, may you be victorious. Twice. Why? Once, may you be victorious over Jatila and Kutila, to step out of your house. And once you're outside your house, may you win over Chandravali, and then Madhava Daite. May you meet Madhava. So in this way, she makes the impossible possible. So from Radharani's side, it's impossible to come and meet Krishna. And from Krishna's side, it's impossible. Because his friends want his time, Balaram wants his time, Nanda and Yashoda want, cows and calves, birds, trees, deer, they all want the time with Krishna. So that's holding Krishna back. And Jatila and Kutila and Chandravali, they're holding Radharani back. So it's impossible for them to meet. But what does Vrinda Devi do? She brings them together. Dear devotees, this is the significance of our tilak. Look at our tilak. Gaudiya Vaishnav tilak. These are parallel lines. So one is Radharani and one is Krishna. Because in math, parallel lines don't meet. They don't meet. So Radha and Krishna are not meeting. But they're trying to meet. But it's impossible. It's impossible. It's impossible. It's impossible. It's impossible. It's impossible. But as soon as there's a touch of a tulsi leaf, they meet. Which is Vrinda Devi. But for us to enter this pastime, you put the tilak and then you put the leaf. But there's one important thing to be done. What is that? To clean the pot in the middle. That's anya vilashita shunya. To take all material desires out. Only when material desires are out will Vrinda Devi recruit us. Sri Radha Govinda Preme Sada Jena Bhasi, in the meeting of parallel lines in the land of Braj. And finally, the third point of today's discussion is Sri Giriraj Govardhan. We pray to Sri Giriraj Govardhan. What is the prayer that we offer today? Dear devotees, Giriraj Govardhan not just carries Krishna, he carries all the devotees. He carries thousands and thousands of cows and calves. How much weight is that? How much weight is that? To carry Krishna, Balaram, cows, calves, millions of cowherd boys for 12 hours a day, every single day. This is called the burden of love. The test of someone's love is to give them seva, service. If someone says, oh, this is too much, Prabhu, which means there's no love. Because where there's love, there's no question of too much. When the child is young and small, he's not that heavy. But as he's growing up, he gets plump. And sometimes he's really heavy. And it's like a Abhishek ceremony where he also wants to see what's happening on the altar. And he tells his father to do the impossible. What's that? To carry him across the shoulder like this. It hurts for the father. But he still does it. Why? Because it's the burden of love. Where there is love, one can serve to any extent. Srimati Radharani is like this. And this is the last point for today's discussion. Srimati Radharani is like this. It is described. Lokadvaya swajanatat parato svatova prana priyat. Rupa Goswami Pad says, whether there's lokadvaya, whether there's obstruction from this world, or there's trouble caused by that world, Indra. Swajanatat, whether there's trouble from family members, Jatila, Kutila, Abhimanyu, Durmat, everyone. Quite a dysfunctional family. For Radharani, her home is like the forest with wild animals. And her forest is her home. For her, her home is like a forest, and the forest of Braj is her home. So Lokadvaya, whether there's trouble in this world, or trouble from that world, or Swajanatat, where there's restriction from family, Jatila and Kutila, or Parato, trouble from Chandravali's camp, or Swata, trouble from her own mind in the form of man, sulking mood, or whether trouble caused by Krishna, that I don't want to meet Radha, or he goes with another Sakhi, irrespective of whatever the circumstances, yatha tatha va vidadhatu lampato mat prananathastu sa eva napara. Radharani's love just goes on increasing. Why? Because love is like a lion, and trouble is like an elephant. Let's repeat that. Love is like a lion, and troubles are like elephants. Why? Because the elephant is big. But what does the lion do? It eats up the elephant and just gets stronger with time. So love crosses over all obstructions, however large they are, and only builds up, getting stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. And that is Radharani. And therefore it takes one to know one. Radharani glorifies Govardhan for carrying Krishna. Manam tanoti sahago ganayostayoryat. Krishna, Balaram, cowherd boys, calves, cows, and so many other Brajbasis. Oh Govardhan, I bow down to you, Radharani says, because forever you carry the burden of love. This is the test of your love for Krishna. Please make me like you, Radharani is praying. So all of us today, as we conclude, we can pray to Radha Madan Mohan that, oh Madan Mohan, please surcharge my heart with so much devotion that service is never a burden. It's actually an expression of my love. Gaur Premanande.